Hey guys, Denver James here, and in this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Techlings expansion pack for the Doomlings base game. I'm going to be breaking down how it works, what's great about it, what's not so great about it, and my overall thoughts on the expansion pack. Let's talk about how this expansion pack works. If you're watching this video, chances are you already know your way around the rules for the Doomlings base game. But just in case you don't, you should know that the object of the game is to score more points than anyone else at the table before the end of the world. You should also know that you'll need the base game before you're able to play with this expansion. That's enough to get you started. The Techlings expansion is included in the Doomlings expansion box, and it comes modded with some techie game mechanics. To start, let's break down the various cards included in this expansion pack. The Age of Metadata card. Play this Age card with your hand revealed. The Bioengineered Plague Catastrophe card. Each player chooses a color. The player on your left discards all cards of that color from their hand. World's End effect. Discard one random trait card from your highest color count from your trait pile. If two or more colors are tied, pick one color. The Ruggedized Dominant Trait card. Attach this card to a trait card. That host trait cannot be removed from your trait pile. You may attach this card to a new host trait at the end of each turn. This card is worth 4 points. The GMO trait card. Attach this card to a trait card. Add 1 point for every trait card in your trait pile of the same color as the host trait. This card is worth -1 point. The Gray Hat trait card. Look at an opponent's hand. Steal one card and play it immediately. This card is worth -1 point. The Binary trait card. Steal a trait card with a face value of 0 or 1 from an opponent's trait pile and play its action. This card is worth 0 points. The Freakish Eyes trait card. Draw 3 cards. All opponents also draw a card. This card is worth 2 points. The Bone Reinforcement trait card. Add this card to a trait card. The host trait cannot be swapped or stolen. This card is worth 1 point. The Bionic Arm trait card. Add 1 point for each Techling card in your trait pile, including this one. Add 2 points for each Techling card if a trait card is attached to this card. This card is worth -2 points. The Neuralink trait card. Take a peek at the next 2 Age cards. This card is worth 2 points. The Cybernetic trait card. Attach this card to a non-blue trait card. The host trait is now blue. This card is worth 1 point. The Mecha trait card. Add this card to an effectless trait card. Add 1 point for each effectless trait card in your trait pile. This card is worth 0 points. The Electromagnetic trait card. Attach this card to a trait card in any trait pile. If it has an action, play that action now. This card is worth 1 point. The Subdermal Plating trait card. You may play this card at any time. Attach this card to a trait card in any trait pile. The host trait cannot be discarded. This card is worth -1 point. The Hypermyelination trait card. The value of this card is equal to the size of the highest gene pool card. The Lionization trait card. Attach this card to a trait card in any trait pile. The host trait's effect is now inactive. This card is worth 1 point. The Transgenic Modification trait card. Attach this card to a non-green trait card. The host trait is now green. This card is worth 1 point. The Nano trait card. Attach this card to a trait card in any trait pile. The value of this card is now equal to the face value of the host trait. Let's break down some specific rules for this particular expansion pack. When it comes to attachments, trait cards with the attach effect are played into your trait pile unless otherwise allowed. Each attachment card is marked with this gear symbol. These cards must be attached to a host trait even if they're played at random. If there are no suitable host traits, simply discard the attachment. Dominant traits cannot be host traits, and neither can trait cards with the attach effect. A host trait cannot have more than 1 attachment. Attachment cards cannot be individually swapped, stolen, or discarded. If the host trait is swapped or stolen, the attachment goes with the host trait. If the host trait is discarded or returned to your hand, discard the attachment. Individual attachment cards cannot be removed at random from your trait pile. If the host trait is at risk of being removed, set the attachment card aside and shuffle the rest of the cards. If the host trait is ultimately selected, follow the rules for swaps, steals, and discards. When applicable, attachment cards can count towards both your trait and color total. Let's talk about what's great about this expansion pack. Built around the concept of attaching powerful effect cards to host traits, Techlings puts a bold new spin on the Doomlings gameplay that you know and love. Cards like the Bone Reinforcement card allow you to attach it to a trait card to keep it from being swapped or stolen, while the Lionization card allows you to attach it to someone else's trait card, making it inactive. It goes without saying that Techlings boasts some of the most exciting and cutthroat cards in the whole series. Another thing that I love about this expansion pack are the wonderfully bizarre card illustrations. There's no question that the makers of Techlings had an absolute blast bringing a sci-fi spin to the Doomlings world, as is evident in these lovingly crafted cards. When it comes to combining techie thrills with vibrant artistry, Techlings proves that it's hardwired for success. Let's talk about what's not so great about this expansion pack. While Techlings is an all-around great time for veteran players, it might prove to be a bit of a challenge for newcomers to the series due to its complex gameplay. The expansion is accompanied by a nifty rules card, ensuring that no one gets too lost during the game. That said, this expansion pack might be better suited for players that are looking for that extra challenge. All in all, Techlings is a stellar addition to the Doomlings world that ratchets up the tension in some fun and surprising ways. The ability to attach supercharged effects to host traits is a fantastic fantastic addition to the game, while the sci-fi verve of the illustrations would make a T800 proud. In a game series teeming with some truly creative expansions, Techlings cements itself as a must-have for hardcore players. If you're questioning whether or not to modify your Doomlings game night with this steely expansion, my advice would be to embrace the tech. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video, take care, and I'll see you around.